Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2020 iF3 Continental Cup Ladies Final. My name is Ryan Jarvis. I am joined with iF3 President Gretchen Kittelberger.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here and can't wait to watch these great ladies compete today. It's going to be an awesome competition.
That is definitely right. We have a very good field, again, taking our top three athletes from each of our four continental regions. And in a sec here, we will have our athletes up on the screen. And see from Australia, Jake Law. From Japan, Tomohiro Ataya. From Korea, Lim Woo Young. I believe we have our men's field up on the screen right now. We will be showing you the ladies, though. Ladies will be coming up here, so we will get the ladies on the screen in a second, and we'll have the proper names with you for you. This will be 6 tests that the athletes will be doing today. Test number 1 will be an endurance test, and we'll go over that in 1 sec. Gotta love the online competition. All right. All right, there we go. Now we can see our athletes. From Japan, we got Yuko Sakayama. From Australia, Jessica Coughlin. From Korea, Woo Sung-ah. From Canada, Emma Lawson. From Argentina, Melina Rodriguez. And from Canada, Karen LaRoche. From Russia, Svetlana Kubushkina. From Hungary, unfortunately had to withdraw due to injury. That was Fedra from Hungary. She was the Eastern Europe champion. From Hungary, well, we have Kitty Kovacs. From Norway, Kristin Holta. From Norway, Jacqueline Dahlström. And from Sweden, Michaela Norman. This is test number 1, our endurance test. We have every 6 minutes for 4 rounds. The athletes will do a 1,000-meter row. They will then get off their Concept 2 rower and do 5 unbroken thrusters at the weight of their choosing, and they'll be scored by both their 1,000-meter row time and their 5 unbroken thruster weight. Gretchen, what are you looking for? What athletes do you think we should be paying special attention to here in test number 1?
You know, what probably goes without saying, but Kristin Holta is a great athlete all around, particularly known for having good endurance. So I expect her to do pretty well on this row. She's not a huge athlete in terms of size, and the rower does seem to favor taller athletes, but she really does have a really good engine. In terms of the strength component, she's not known as one of the stronger athletes, but she certainly does hold her own in that respect as well.
All right, very good point. We got some very interesting preliminary round athletes joining us here today from the from the Americas region. Melina Rodriguez, other than her first event, which was the endurance event, being about a 10th place finish, I think she ran the board the rest of the way with first place finishes the rest of the way. So I think Melina Rodriguez is definitely an athlete we gotta keep an eye out today. We'll see how she fares in the endurance test today, though. Now, you've been a regionals athlete in the CrossFit world. In your mind, I guess at the end of the day, for rowing, the height and the strength definitely is a huge, definitely want to be as efficient as possible on these rows. And we'll see some of the taller athletes are probably going to start to get through their rows first. Another athlete to probably focus on for the rowing is a Hungarian athlete, Kitty Kovacs. She's got a very good pull there. For those of you at home, you can see that we actually have sectioned off each continent. The top continent is Asia, Australia, Africa. The second row is the Americas. Third row is Eastern Europe, and the bottom row is, of course, Western Europe. And I think we see our first athlete coming off the row now, Gretchen, as Michaela Norman.
Oh, yes. Michaela is a great athlete from Sweden. Did very well. We took all the scores after the preliminaries and kind of combined them to see where everybody's ranked, and Michaela was pretty high up there. I think she is one of the taller athletes, so it does make sense that a pretty strong rower.
All right, then we see now Kristen Holt coming off hers. Again, Kristen Holt is definitely an athlete to keep an eye on. Of course, she's had great success in the CrossFit Games world. And now we're very happy to have her in the iF3 Continental Cup representing Western Europe. As we see a few of the athletes now starting their 5 rep unbroken thrusters. And just so everyone does know, we have a 6-minute clock here. It'll reset. They'll have to do another 1,000-meter row. We have about 75 seconds to go, but on the thrusters, they may go up and down a weight, but the set must be unbroken with a full lockout, a pressing motion at the top, so they cannot do a jerking motion at the top. And if they have time and feel that they want to, they are more than welcome to attempt a heavier set before the 6 minutes is up. So now we are seeing pretty much all the athletes attempting one set and then going to rest the rest of the way. We don't have their weights for us to see at this point, but you can see a lot of the athletes now are getting done their first and probably only set for most of them.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, it's probably not a great strategy in the beginning to try to do multiple sets on the thruster. Maybe that last round if you're feeling really good and you have time, but I don't know. I don't think it'd be something I would do. Unless I failed a set, I don't think I would try to do 2 in these initial rounds.
Now, let's just say you have no idea what these athletes are doing here, Gretchen, and you're just coming in blindly. What would be your weight strategy, you think? Of course, these athletes have already tried this. Now, just based off the top of your head, what do you think would be your strategy? Would you probably go on the heavier set the first round as you're a little more fresh and then maybe start to bring the weight down? Or do you think you'd try and kind of start with a lower weight and see if you can kind of progress? What would be your strategy?
I honestly think I'd try to stay consistent across the board. Something that's, most of these athletes are going to know kind of what their 5 rep max is going to be. Or at least have an idea of it. And I'd try to probably pick something that is not my true 5 rep max, but maybe let's say 10 pounds or so under it, and see if I could maintain that as long as possible.
So I guess here also, these athletes, of course, are experienced enough that they probably know what their 1,000-meter split times would be, what a good pace would be, what something that's not going to crush them will be, what will leave them enough time to recover a bit before having to attempt a 5 rep max thruster, 5 rep unbroken thruster. I guess it really comes down to picking a smart pace and then picking an appropriate weight that you can maximize that weight for one set of 5. Would you think that's probably the proper way to go?
Yeah, I do. I think, for the row, you want to try to find that pace, ideally that you can stay at for all 4 rounds. The fastest pace you can stay at and still maintain, because you really don't want to have a drop off in your times and get slower over the 4 rounds. So if you can find and sort of know, all right, I can do this for 1,000 and I can do it every time and it's challenging, but I can maintain it. You kind of want to be in that space so that you can still have time to recover and hit those thrusters.
And for those of you at home, just so you are aware, the row time is being added each round. So there are 4 rounds of 6 minutes here. each round, the 1,000-meter row they have a countdown on their concept two rower, and that score or their time for each 1,000 meters is added up together at the end, and that is test number one score. Then that is being combined with each round's thruster score. So the athletes definitely want to have some sort of urgency here to finish the row at as quick a pace as can be handled, but without obviously blowing themselves up. So we saw in the first round that Michaela Norman from Sweden was one of the first athletes off. We will see who is going to be the first one off here in round number two, but odds are you can probably count on the same athletes being the first ones off the row each time. We see Karen LaRoche out of Canada. She was definitely one of the top rowers in the rowing portion in the Americas region last week. And again, Melina Rodriguez, but definitely Michaela Norman on the row. I agree with you, Gretchen. Definitely got to be maybe the favorite on the row here.
Yeah, I'm also really curious to see how, not just for this event, but overall, how Emma Lawson from Canada does. She's a teenage athlete, and she really came out and did amazing in the Americas group in the preliminaries. So I'm looking to see a big performance from her really across the board today.
Yeah, I agree. Emma, she and Melina Rodriguez right next door to her on the screen there. They were battling it out the entire day. Emma had a much better first test, but the rest of the way, Emma, I think, had 5 seconds and Melina had 5 first to finish the day. But because of that first score, Emma beat her out. But as we see now, Gretchen, we've got Kitty Kovacs and Michaela Norman are off their concept two and are going to start their thrusters here with about 1 minute and 45 seconds to go. And I guess as each round goes on, heart rate's going to be a little harder to bring down, but we have no athletes yet starting their thrusters. We have someone in Jacqueline's stream there doing some thrusters, but that's not actually Jacqueline, obviously. But we do see Kitty Kovacs from Hungary starting her first set of thrusters here on the right of your screen.
And that's part of the strategy too, is when do you start those thrusters? How much time do you take after you row before you do your thrusters? And make sure you have enough time after the thrusters before you get back to your row, right? Because you only have so much time to rest, and you have to figure out where do you need the rest more.
It's a very good point. If you actually, as well, Gretchen, you see a lot of these athletes are actually putting their leathers on, knee sleeves, belts, so they got to put it on, take it off, get proper rest. So I guess that all comes into play here. We see Jacqueline Dahlstrom down in the center of your screen doing her set of 5 thrusters with about 40 seconds remaining. It's like most of these athletes, I guess, unless you're really feeling fresh and you feel like you've really gone under the weight you need, I guess most of these athletes are just going to do that one and only set, Gretchen.
Yeah, it looks like it. I don't see anybody doing multiple sets. I think, if you fail, of course, you really need to, you don't want a 0. That would be detrimental. Really would put you in last if you get a 0 for a round. But I don't think it's worth the extra energy really to do an extra set of 5 if you don't have to.
That's a good point. We say Yuko Sakiyama, she was actually the last athlete to finish thrusters with about 10 seconds before the round starts. So we'll see how that plays out for Yuko.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was, just watching the men's stream earlier, and the male athlete from Japan did a similar thing where he did his thrusters almost right up to the buzzer and then had very little time to rest going into the row. So interesting that both of our Japanese athletes seem to have a similar strategy there.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. I'm not sure if that's the way I would do it, but we'll see, I guess, which strategy pays off here at the end. Again, we got Michaela Norman has been the first off the row each time, so odds are after 2 rounds, she's got the best time going so far. Karen LaRoche, I think, was another one who was coming off the row pretty quickly, and Kitty Kovacs from Hungary. So we will see how this all plays out. Again, we're only halfway through, 2 more 6-minute rounds. So we finish at the 24-minute mark. Again, for the iF3 for our competitions here, it's one big, large running clock. And this first test, the endurance and strength test, so this is first two tests, will take up to the 24-minute mark. Then they will get a 16-minute rest and rest until the 40-minute mark, where we will then get underway with test 3, which will be the body weight and the skill test, which will be together as well. So again, athletes got to kind of play to their strength, hopefully, and some athletes know that this is maybe the spot they're going to shine. Maybe those that know that they're more the balanced athlete are just trying to maybe score high, maybe a little bit of damage control, kind of right in that middle spot. But we'll see how this all plays out. Again, Michaela Norman, bottom right of your screen from Sweden, is your fastest rower after 2 rounds. We don't have an official time right now, but she was definitely the first athlete off the row in the first 2 rounds. So we look for her to keep that continuing here in round number 3. So seeing these athletes have a bit of a row going here, maybe Gretchen, you got a sec here to tell us what is the big plan for or goals for the iF3 coming up in the next couple years?
Yeah, so obviously this year was a little bit of an odd year with the pandemic and everything. But going into 2021, we're looking to be back doing in-person events. So we've got a Masters World Championships planned for June in Portugal. We just had a webinar talking with the team at Tafisa, which is we're partnering with them for their World Sport for All Games. We'll be part of that. And then we have our World Championships for our elite individuals and teams in Australia in November. So that's November 12th through 14th on our calendar for 2021. In terms of big goals, in the governance world, we're working on things like our anti-doping policy, making some changes kind of to our rule book and movement standards that'll be coming. On the broader governance side, we're working towards different recognitions with particularly the Global Association of International Sports Federations, trying to hope we can get into their observer program in 2021. That's a big goal for us that we'll be working towards. And then, of course, our long-term goal of seeing the sport in the Olympic Games. So we'll be always gunning for that and keeping that in the back of our minds.
So I guess just 2028, I guess that would be the first year that we could iF3 could possibly have eligibility for functional fitness.
Yeah, that would be our first chance. Events have already been decided for 2024. That's the thing about this process. When they do pick new sports for the Olympics, it happens way in advance, years in advance. So really something that's 8 years away. In terms of the actual event, they're going to be making decisions on that in 2 or 3 years. So the timeline is actually kind of short, but that is our goal, is to have a presence in LA.
Well, that's great. And if breakdancing is getting in there as a sport, well, I don't see any reason why we can't get functional fitness in there. And we will see the right side of our screen has our appears to be our fastest 3 athletes. Michaela Norman, once again, was our first athlete off the concept 2. Kitty Kovacs from Hungary and Karen LaRoche were right behind her. So those are definitely the 3 athletes to look at. Emma Lawson was right there from Canada, 15-year-old phenom out of Canada. So those have been our top 4 athletes on the rows thus far here today. We'll see. Again, we don't unfortunately have the weights. We can't see for certain what they are lifting, but at the end of the day, one thing we can definitely tell is a row. We have about 35 seconds to go here in round number 3. And I guess Michaela, Gretchen, I guess Michaela is going to be definitely the one to beat the row unless someone comes out with a blazing fast time in this anchor leg.
Yeah, I think she's been pretty consistent so far, and pretty consistently that first one off.
Yeah, it's going to be quite tough to beat her here. We got 10 seconds to go. You see the athletes setting up on their concept 2 for their final 6-minute round. Again, in case you're just joining us here on our live feed, it is 4 6-minute rounds. So starting at 0, 6, 12, and now 18, 1,000-meter row, and it is timed, so their time is accruing with the other 3 rounds. Then in the remaining time in that 6 minutes, they must do an unbroken set of 5 thrusters at whatever weight they choose. Those 4 weights, heaviest weight each round for their set of thrusters is all added together, and that is technically their test 2 scores. So underway with the final round, final row. Now, Michaela Norman looking to be the athlete to beat on the endurance portion of this, the 4 sets of 1,000-meter row, I guess is how that would be described. Katie Kovacs, Karen LaRoche, and Emma Lawson have been not too far behind, but definitely Michaela Norman seems to be the class of the field on that Concept 2 rower. Very unfortunate that Fedra from Hungary could not join us here, but the injuries that happens, as we saw Emma Lawson actually was supposed to be in a team competition a few weeks ago, but she was unable to compete due to injury, but she ended up winning the Americas region in the Continental Cup. So we're glad to have Emma healthy and competing today as we get up to about the 90-second mark. And we'll look ahead to the next test coming up here. That'll be the body weight and skill test. So we'll have some high burpee box jump overs and some freestanding handstand push-ups coming up. I definitely like how you guys have set this up, Gretchen, with the different tests, making sure that you hit different time domains, different movements. What was your thought process in doing that? Is that something that needed to be regulated if you kind of wanted to take this to the Olympics?
Yeah, we really wanted to have, or we needed to have, a way to explain and describe the sport to people, especially, as we're going through this process in the Olympic movement, be able to go to people who don't know our sport and say, well, this is what it is and this is what we do. And we thought kind of one of the simplest, easiest ways to do that was to put some structure into the way competitions are run, to be able to say, well, we always do X number of events, and these are the things that we test in those events. So that's kind of how we ended up with the 6 categories, and we felt that they sort of hit everything that we sort of do in functional fitness. The nice thing about it is, for us, this was a starting point, right? Where we said, okay, we've got, endurance, strength, body weight, skill, all of that. But it doesn't mean that it has to be the end all be all forever. We might get, 5, 10 years into this and go, man, I really think we're missing something, or we really missed something in the program, in the, the test categories, and it's not being tested and we need to fix it. And that's kind of the great thing about the structure, is we'll continue to learn and we'll get this data and we can revise, what the sport and the competitions look like. But we really wanted to have a way to describe what it was and for people to understand very specifically what it is, and then what it's not, I guess, on the other hand.
Definitely a good way to put it. I guess too, with the running clock and the multiple tests on that running clock, I guess at the end of the day, one of the biggest benefits of those are for the athletes who can work the quickest in these ones, as unlike you see a lot of competitions where it's spread out. Well, they may have these 6 tests over 2 or 3 or a couple of days. These are basically an hour and a half and 6 tests. So I guess recovery does play a key part in it, but I definitely do have to agree with you. I love to see the balance in all different movements here. Making sure that you kind of hit a bit of everything so that people do understand the sport. And Gretchen, we do see bottom right of our screen, Michaela Norman, once again, one of the first ones off. Katie Kovacs, Emma Lawson, and Karen LaRoche all off their rowers first. Again, Kristen Holta, I think athlete known around the world, she is off her rower, and she'll be heading to her bar to do her final set. I guess it's maybe the spot where we might see athletes pushing the time here a bit. As there's no more rounds to do on the Concept 2, they may wait to get a rest in, or maybe they'll do a set of 5 here and maybe attempt a final set of 5 in the last 20 seconds. What are your thoughts here, Gretchen?
Yeah, but that is, what I thought is that people would try to get multiple sets in this last round just to see if they could eke out a couple more pounds. I didn't really see that happening when I was watching. One of them actually just waited, and went the last 30, 45%. So we'll see if the women handle it differently.
All right, we see Katie Kovacs. She's sprawled out. I don't think she's going to be attempting another set there from Hungary. It's like most of the athletes look to be pretty spent here. So yeah, I gotta agree with you, Gretchen. It looks like the athletes are going to be one and done here in this final set. But Michaela Norman, finally, we should say that it looks like Michaela Norman is getting some plates added here at the very end. So with 13 seconds to go, see if she can squeak out her 5 reps in time. There's 2, 3. As we hit, then just not in time. So we will flip to our leaderboard here. Some sheets up the screen, but we will get the visual here for everyone to see. And it is Michaela Norman taking the row, 14:26, not too far ahead of Kitty Kovacs from Hungary, sitting second, and then Canadians sitting third and fourth right now, and Kristen Holta holding their own, 5th place. As we will try to get our, there it is, event number 2, and you see Gretchen once again, Michaela Norman riding off that first place finish and tied for the lead with Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Emma Lawson at 8 points.
Yeah, it's a real close point spread here, all the way down to 6th place, really, with 8 points and then 9 points. That's going to be basically, practically a tie, really, with our top athletes there.
Yeah, four tests to go, and we will have a word from our sponsors here. There it is.
Pup, passing them in that. Circle with my boys, roll the weed and this is it. Line up the streets like a forest fire. We're smoking the bear hat. Preacher try to top it, we ain't really trying to hear that. It's a little teenage angst with some ignorance, and every chance we get, these kids will get belligerent. Cause though we know but strong, and it was never cool to care about the consequences. Flash 4 or 5 years and the story.
Welcome to the Continental Cup Finals, individual, test 3 and test 4. This is the body weight and the skill test. This test is going to be a consistent running clock of 4-minute AMRAPs, so a 16-minute total running clock. AMRAPs 1 and 3 are both max repetitions of burpee box jump overs at 40 inches for the guys and 36 inches for the ladies. The burpee box jump overs, you burpee facing the box and you can get over that box however you please with the use of your hands, even legs of the box if you need to. AMRAPs 2 and AMRAPs 4 are both identical AMRAPs of 5 freestanding handstand push-ups into a 9-meter unbroken handstand walk, followed by a 10-second unbroken L-sit on parallettes. Your freestanding handstand push-ups must start behind a line. You will complete your handstand push-ups, and when you go into your final handstand push-up, once you've completed that, you must not come down before going into your handstand walk. Your handstand walk must also start from behind that line. After that, we have the L-sit. Now, the L-sit is completed on parallettes. The parallettes must be set up 14 inches off the ground to the top of the parallette. You'll also have a stack of plates to guide your feet. These stack of plates are going to be 9 inches off of the ground. We look at the parallettes and the plates here. Parallettes are 14 inches. Plates are set up at 9 inches here. Now, how I'm going to set these ones up to make sure that they are right. I'm going to sit on top of my parallette with my feet on my plates, and my feet should be in the middle of the stack of plates, okay? Not all the way out in front, not all the way behind. So as soon as I elevate my legs, they will be staying close to the middle of the stack of plates. If I touch these plates midway through my L-sit, I must start that L-sit again because it must be a 10-second unbroken L-sit. Now, for your freestanding handstand push-up into the 9-meter unbroken handstand walk, you can use an ab mat for this piece. Your ab mat is going to be positioned slightly behind your handstand walk line. You must kick up, and when you kick up, get to a vertical line in a handstand before lowering your head down to the mat. Once your head down is on the mat, you can then complete a strict or a kipping to get back up to a locked out position with your arms locked out, your hips locked out, and your feet straight above your body. That is when the rep is completed of rep number 1. You then complete 2 all the way through to 5. This can be a strict or a kipping off the ab mat here. Your 5th handstand push-up must go into your 9-meter unbroken handstand walk. So you can rest before your 5th handstand push-up and then go just that one by itself. But if you do your 5th and then drop, you cannot get up and do your handstand walk. It must be 5th and then go for your walk with your hands behind the line. So once I've finished my last one, hands are behind the line, and then I go for my walk. If I complete my last one over my line, I must get back behind the line before walking forward from there.
All right, we are back with test 3 and 4 as we have our test 3, which is body weight, as well as our test number 4, which is our skill test. 16 minutes of 4 sets of 4 AMRAPs. The first 4 minutes, as you see the athletes doing here, is burpee box jump overs, 36 inches or 90 centimeters, depending on what you use for measurements. You can see the athletes are allowed to use their hands to get up and over, and they can put their knees on the box, whatever they'd like to use. The only requirement is that the feet travel over the box. Then they must do burpee facing the box and then up and over. Who do you got your eye on here in test number 3, Gretchen?
You know, a couple people here, I think both of our Norwegian athletes are pretty good burpeers. If you look, you can see Jacqueline Dahlstrom's pace is pretty quick right now off the start. And of course, Kristen, you know, is pretty good at burpees as well. Yuko from Japan is actually, she's one of the smaller athletes, so the height of the box might affect her, but she is a pretty good burpier. She's got a pretty good pace going as well in this kind of first minute here. But again, like I said, she's under 5 feet tall, so the height of the box might catch up to her.
That's a good point. So I guess this is really where the ebbs and flows of functional fitness come in, where someone who's technically, if this was a regular burpee box jump, maybe the 20-inch box that we're kind of used to seeing for the females, and it's not that big of a jump, even for shorter athletes, it's not that big of a deal. But I guess once we get to a double the height, up to 40 inches, I guess that it's really a game changer for the shorter athletes, Gretchen.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Especially if they just had to jump, it's helps maybe a little bit here that they get to use their hands, but still it's quite, a little bit of a disadvantage for the shorter athlete trying to get over that box when it's at least half, or, in Yuko's case, it's definitely more than half her height. So that makes it a little bit tougher versus someone who's a little bit taller, has a little more leverage to get over that box a bit easier. Good
point. You see some of the athletes are actually working at a pretty good pace here, but Kitty Kovacs is actually, again, one of the taller athletes, has one of the larger frames overall, a little bit taller, and you see maybe her burpee isn't quite as quick, but she's able to get up and over that 40-inch box quite quickly, which I guess at the end of the day, I guess there's really two parts of the burpee box jump, over is how quickly you can do the burpee and then how quickly you can get up and over the box. So I guess it's kind of the combination of the two, and hopefully you're kind of even in regards to how well you are at both the burpee and the extended height for the box jump over.
Right, exactly.
See, one athlete to keep our eye on as well, Gretchen, is right in the center of your screen, Melina Rodriguez. Again, she finished second in the Americas region, but very consistent in 5 of the 6 tests last week, and she seems to be moving at a pretty solid pace as well. Of course, Kristen Holta, definitely one to keep our eye on. And in about 30 seconds, the athletes will then go right into their second 4-minute AMRAP, which is going to be 5 freestanding handstand push-ups. So again, we'll see how many of them have some blown up arms here after all the pressing of both the bottom of the burpee, as well as pressing on getting themselves up and over the box.
Yeah, that's definitely going to affect, their handstand push-ups. Strength-wise, I think every single one of these ladies is more than strong enough to do skipping handstand push-ups, which is essentially what these are. But this added skill element of having to balance in that freestanding handstand, they don't have the wall to support them now. This is, I guess, a rarer skill, if you want to say, something we don't see that often in competition. So it's kind of anybody's guess who has that skill and who's been practicing that and who hasn't. So we'll see who's able to get through these quickly.
I have to admit, out of all the skills for today's test that we're seeing, this is actually is probably the most intriguing, for the exact reason that you just said, Gretchen, just because athletes are used to being able to flip up to a wall, whether it's strict or kipping handstand push-ups, they have that for support. And again, this is also different than a regular handstand walk, where again, they have a little bit of momentum, their legs can come over and kind of counterbalance, but it's a strict handstand push-up that is just something that is actually foreign, I think, to a fair amount of these athletes. But again, they've known this workout or the test here for a little while, so they have been able to practice it in case they either don't have the skill or they need to practice their skill that they haven't done for a while. So I guess we'll wait and see how this plays out. Any of these athletes you know of as gymnastics specialists, Gretchen?
No, not that I know of in terms of like high level gymnastics background. I don't know if any of them had that, say, in their youth or something. But I believe Kristen maybe has a little bit of a gymnastics background. I know the Norwegian team did a camp earlier this year and went into a gymnastics gym and trained a bit. In the preliminary round, we had the strict deficit handstand push-ups. Now, this is a little different here, but again, Yuko did great on those in the preliminaries. I'm not sure if Emma has maybe a little bit of a gymnastics background before doing CrossFit. I can't remember, but I don't really know if any of these women have strong gymnastics backgrounds in the sport of gymnastics themselves, which certainly would help for a test like this.
And just for those watching at home, maybe they've just joined us, maybe they have not seen the what this actual test is, and they're saying, well, you're talking about handstand push-ups, why are they doing LSIS? Well, this 4-minute AMRAP is 5 freestanding handstand push-ups. They don't have to be unbroken, but on that 5th handstand push-up, they must go directly into a 9-meter unbroken handstand walk. So once they do number 5, they've got to continue that until they hit their 9 meters. Once they complete that good rep of 9 meters, then they must do a 10-second unbroken L-sit on the parallettes, and their heels may not touch the plates that are out in front of their feet. And the other stipulation is, if the heel does happen to touch the plates, they must start from 0 and do a full 10 seconds. So definitely some great thought put into this test here for the skill test, Gretchen. L-sits, something that we don't normally see in competition, but definitely like this skill put in here, Gretchen. What was your kind of thought in adding just a static hold to an event?
Yeah, so the skill test is maybe kind of my favorite test in terms of a programming perspective, and I personally don't program for the competitions, but I love that we are going this way and going this direction and kind of putting in things that are a bit unique that you don't see a lot, and kind of pushing the envelope in that sense. Static holds are very difficult, especially when you're maybe a little out of breath, a little fatigued, their arms are tired from the handstand push-ups. It definitely is a skill. So we're really trying to kind of push things in a more technical sense with that skill test, with sort of this long-term vision that in, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, these are skills that are, they're no longer hard enough to maybe even be in the skill test because everyone can do them. So if we start kind of going this way, there's so many things in sort of the body weight round, even beyond that, just our where we are from a skill perspective as an entire sport. We have so much room to grow. We're not even close to where we could be and where the athlete's potential is in terms of skill, right? These higher level skills. So we really have this longer term vision of increasing the difficulty and the types of skills that athletes are capable of.
That's good. Adding more weapons to their arsenals. As we see here, round number 3. Again, this is our 3rd 4-minute AMRAP. This is the exact same movement, an AMRAP that we did in round 1, which was from 0 to 4 minutes here. It is just burpee box jump overs to a 40-inch box, or be 100 or 90 centimeters. Those of you on the metric system. Again, hands, they may use their hands. They can put any part of their body on the box as long as their feet travel over. So their feet cannot swing around the side of the box. Even if their feet are above the top of the box, the feet must travel over the box. That is the one stipulation on these box jump overs. Definitely the athletes to keep an eye on here is, once again, Kristen Holta. We all know that she has a phenomenal engine, very quick on the burpees. Melina Rodriguez from Argentina, definitely a great engine, kind of flying under the radar here. She was very, very well, very quick, very deceiving. And of course, we saw in round 1 was Kitty Kovacs from Hungary. She's a taller athlete, so getting up and over that box is not quite as difficult for her as we see it is for maybe Yuko Sakiyama from Japan, being a shorter athlete. And it takes a lot of effort to get up and over each and every time. With 90 seconds left here in round number 3. And one thing I wanted to actually touch on, Gretchen, as you were kind of talking about movements, is one thing I'd like that you have the movement standards for the teenagers that we had the World Cup. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that we've done that's a little bit different, kind of a little new with our teenage athletes, our junior athletes, is they have technique points that they earn, or I guess technically they start with full points deducted, so they lose points if they don't do the technique correctly. And they're very, we tried to make them very objective things, and really tried to make them fairly simple in the beginning. But the idea is, for these young athletes, we really want to reinforce that it's not just about moving fast, it's about moving properly and safely and having good technique. And that technique score counts equally in weight in competition as their time. So, if you have a workout, so for example, they did one of their events, I believe, was like rowing and double unders in their World Cup competition. So there were technique points on your double unders, how good your form was, if you're bending your knees or piking at the waist. And then there was, your time to complete however many rounds it was. But that technique score is weighted equally to your time. So if you go fast but are last in technique, it doesn't help you at all. So we're really trying to reinforce with these younger athletes that technique is important. Not only important for safety, but, in the long run, a couple years from now, right, 3, 5, 10 years from now, these athletes are going to move faster and better because they have better technique. So we really wanted to emphasize that for these younger athletes.
It's great to hear. Again, getting that great muscle memory ingrained in their head and great technique ingrained in their head right away. Taking it, I guess, through into their adulthood. As Emma Lawson was supposed to be in the Junior World Cup, but she had to withdraw due to injury. But she's competing here with the adults and was the America's champion. And we see her at the top right of your screen. She's bailed on one of her handstand push-ups. We are 1 minute into the fourth and final AMRAP here in test number 3 and 4. This is technically test number 4, the skill test. Again, 4-minute AMRAP of 5 freestanding handstand push-ups. On the 5th handstand push-up, they must go straight into a 9-meter unbroken handstand walk. And then as soon as that's done, it is a 10-second L-sit hold. And that must be unbroken as well. The feet may not touch the plates underneath their feet. So again, on test 4, I think Melina Rodriguez, I remember her from last week being very good with the gymnastics movement and these holds. So she's definitely one for us to keep an eye on here as well. Of course, Kristen Holta, we know that she's definitely very good. Another one maybe who might end up sneaking up on us here is Jessica Coughlin from Australia. She seems to be moving at a pretty good pace here. Gretchen, on the left of your screen, you see her in the pink top, black shorts, walking back to the parallettes. But she seems to be moving at a pretty good pace here as well.
Yeah, Jessica's a great athlete, has competed at the CrossFit Games multiple times, I believe. So she definitely has the
Michaela Norman, quite good on the road because of her size, but again, now this is where we see again those ebbs and flows where the bigger athletes, the gymnastics part, the handstand walking may not favor them as much as well. Same with especially the freestanding handstand push-up. The larger athletes, I would guess, but again, it's not across the board, but I would guess would be a little bit tougher for the heavier athletes, maybe trying to do the freestanding handstand push-up.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, go ahead, please.
Yeah, along with those lines, just being even a taller athlete, when you talk about a handstand, those longer levers, it's your center of gravity is a little higher away from the ground. It's a little tougher to balance versus someone who's a little shorter. You're closer to the ground. Your center of mass is just a little bit different, so it can be a bit easier for those shorter athletes to kind of balance in that handstand.
A very good point. As we are closing in on the end of test 3 and 4 with about 20 seconds to go. Final push here. See if these athletes can squeeze out a few more reps. And Kristen Holta, Melina Rodriguez have been moving, seem to be at the quickest pace here. You see Kristen trying to do that 5th rep again as we hit our time cap. All right, Gretchen, we will wait to see how the leaderboard shakes down Now, after we get some scores in, see some of the judges there. We'll bring the score sheets right up to the camera, and there it is. Kristen Holt taking test number 3 and moving her into a 1-point lead on countrywoman Jacqueline Dahlstrom. Gretchen.
Yeah, both of them did very well in that test. And we have there Melina Rodriguez, who did so well in preliminaries for the Americas group, in 3rd there. But again, the scores are really close. There's not a big point spread, so this is still really anybody's game.
And you see we just added test number 4, and Kristen Volta will take 2nd. Melina Rodriguez wins test number 4, moving her into 2nd place. So our top 3, Kristen Holta, Melina Rodriguez from Argentina, and Jacqueline Dahlstrom from Norway. We will, 4th place, Emma Lawson from Canada. Yes, sitting 4th. So our teenage athlete is sitting 4th. As you said before, she won. I hate the time of this. I read the time wrong.
Welcome to the Welcome to the Continental Cup Finals, Individuals, Test 5 and Test 6. This is 2 separate scores in the same workout. Score number 1 is a 1-minute AMRAP of ground to overhead. Score number 2 is a 9-minute AMRAP starting straight after that first 1 minute of 5 power cleans, 10 wall balls, 50 double unders. The power cleans and the ground to overhead are completed at 55 kilos for the males and 40 kilos for the females. The wall balls are completed at 30 pounds for the males and 20 pounds for the females, to a 10-foot target for the males and a 9-foot target for the females. Have fun with this one, guys.
All right, we are back with test numbers 5 and 6 here at the 2020 iF3 Continental Cup. This is our ladies final. We have 10 minutes here total for these 2 tests. Test number 5, their power test, 1-minute AMRAP, ground to overhead, 40 kilos, 90 pounds. Gretchen, they're able to use either snatches or clean and jerk? What would be your strategy here?
I like snatches in general better as an athlete, so I think I would probably start with snatches. I mean, I say that now, but they are, they're 4 tests deep, 5 tests deep. So by that time, my grip may be tired and we might be going to clean and jerks. But if you're able to cycle those snatches, you can be a little bit quicker. However, it looks like most of them have chosen clean and jerks.
I guess this one only 1 minute in length. So again, we're 50 seconds in, just 10 seconds remaining. I guess the whole point of not put the bar down.
Yeah, you really have to hold on to it. There's no sandbagging in this one since it's only a minute long.
And then you see we go right into our test number 6. That is it. Test number 6 is now underway, and it's a 9-minute AMRAP, 5 power cleans at that same weight, 90 pounds or 40 kilos. 10 wall balls, and they are using a slightly heavier wall ball than we normally see. So it's 20 pounds or 9 kilos up to the 9-foot mark or 2.8 meters, and then 50 double unders. So 5 power cleans, 10 wall balls, 50 double unders, 9 minutes total reps for test number 6, which is our mixed test.
And it was very interesting there, right after that 1 minute of ground overhead, most of the athletes had to go right into singles on their cleans, but it looked like we had Kitty from Hungary and Svetlana from Russia who actually did touch and go those first 5 power cleans. We'll have to see if that makes a difference overall in their speed and their number of rounds, or if it just was too taxing.
Yeah, Kitty definitely one of probably overall the strongest athletes competing, I believe. Seems to be moving at a pretty good pace, though. Svetlana, again, the Russian, like I said, she went touch and go. But minute 19 in here. Again, this one now we're going to start to see how their engines are. Again, this is the 6th and final test on the large running clock. This would be the hour and 10 to hour and 20. So they've been going here with for well over an hour. There's some rest in between. But test number 6, minute 45 in. Athletes have definitely got to be feeling it. If you were competing, what do you think right now would be you'd be feeling it the most right now? Shoulders, grip?
For me, I think it's probably always seems the breathing that would catch up to me first. So I think, especially this combination of movements, the double unders and the wall balls, that's definitely going to get you pretty out of breath pretty quick. So I think at this point, trying to just keep that heart rate down for these last 9 minutes of this workout.
Looking at just early on here, it looks like Michaela Norman's moving at a pretty good pace. Seems to be cycling through very quickly. Another one to keep an eye on is Jacqueline Dahlstrom. She seems to be moving pretty well. But your leader overall, no surprises, is Kristen Holta. Always kind of gets, I guess in the CrossFit Games world, she always kind of flies under the radar here. But here she's definitely the odds-on favorite and is at the top of the leaderboard coming into tests 5 and 6. So Kristen now just looking to kind of continue off the momentum that she built in tests 3 and 4, where she took a first and a second. And I guess now it's just more of trying to stay in that top 3 for these final couple tests to keep her on top of the podium, I guess, Gretchen.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I think, really where, she excels. That engine of hers will help get through where, like you said, over an hour in to these workouts, they've been going pretty much constantly. So this, I think, that plays to one of her strengths.
Yeah, Kristen definitely known for a great engine. We'll see how the youth now works for Emma Lawson, 15-year-old Emma Lawson. I am unbelievably impressed with how well Emma had overall here. Again, she couldn't compete in the Junior World Cup due to injury, but she has definitely put on a great performance so far today, and she's right in the mix here coming into this final 2 tests. If she can hit a couple home runs here, she can still have a chance to hit the podium.
Yeah, very impressive. She's been very impressive through the preliminaries and all of this final today as well.
See if we can. Yuko Sakayama actually looking like she was actually had one of the quickest in that test 5, which was only that 1 minute AMRAP of ground to overhead. Yuko was very quick. Again, we don't have the scores here, but Yuko definitely seemed to be cycling the barbell very quick there from Japan. Yuko in the bottom center of your screen. So again, we'll see how that plays in to the overall score. But coming into this final event or final 2 tests, Kristen Holta is your leader overall. Melina Rodriguez is sitting second, so we'll see if she's able to maintain second, maybe make a push for first here. That would actually be quite a huge upset if we saw Melina maybe hit a back-to-back home runs here in these final 2 events and maybe dethrone Kristen from the top of that leaderboard.
Yeah, that would be a big victory and a big upset if Melina is able to pull that off. She needs really strong performances here to get ahead of Kristen.
I guess we got to also be looking at maybe some of the taller athletes here possibly excelling here, because those wall balls definitely do favor the taller athletes. Even the slightly stronger athletes, again, of course, the engine does play a part in this, but these athletes are using a 20-pound med ball, where usually that's the standard weight for the males, but the females are using 20. They're only having to go up to the 9-foot target. So if you got a stronger female and maybe taller female, this one can definitely maybe play into their wheelhouse. Maybe double unders are pretty strong for them. And then, of course, power cleans odds are going to favor the stronger athletes as well. So maybe you got to look at a couple of the bigger, stronger females here to maybe have a good final test, Gretchen.
Yeah, I think you're right. Height definitely plays a factor in wall balls. Not just a little bit. You don't have to quite put as much power into throwing the ball so high. But the taller you are, right, the more time you have where the ball's in your hands, and the sooner you can grab it out of the air. So you have a little more control of your cycle time, and you can kind of speed it up a little bit more if you're a taller athlete versus a shorter athlete who has no choice but to kind of sit and stare and wait for the ball to drop into their hands.
It's a good point. And you had mentioned Michaela Norman from Sweden. She had a great first test, and being a taller athlete, she won the rowing portion in test 1 of the endurance. And it looks like she's actually having a very good final test here, as she seems to be cycling through all 3 movements at a very quick pace. I say that as she trips up on the doubles, but she's been very quick. And again, right from the doubles, straight to the power cleans now, and touch and go. I guess also once you've been kind of winded and you kind of find that pace and settle in, a lot of these athletes can just maintain a constant pace. That's really what you want to do here, isn't it, Gretchen?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we've seen is a lot of the athletes, they're pretty winded after that 1 minute all out kind of sprint with the barbell on those ground to overhead. And they take it maybe a little slower. We saw a lot of singles the first round on those power cleans in this MRAP. And then maybe round 2, round 3, they start to settle in. They got a little control over the heart rate, and they realize, okay, I can kind of find my pace. I can touch and go again. And they actually start to speed up a little bit and kind of find their groove.
Definitely something that we do find. A lot of these athletes will actually start to pick up speed as the event goes on. Maybe they realize, okay, I got a little bit more in the tank than I thought. But we are on the home stretch here, Gretchen. We got about 35 seconds to go. The final push. Athletes leaving it on the floor now. Emma Lawson, Jacqueline Dahlstrom trying to get on top of that podium. Michaela Norman as well, and Jessica Coughlin. So we'll see if anyone is able to catch the leader, Kristen Holta. Melina Rodriguez is really the only one within striking distance of Kristen, but a lot of athletes trying to get a podium spot here, Gretchen. Final 10 seconds. Athletes pounding out their final few doubles. And we are 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, that is it for our ladies division. As you can see them almost all spread out on the floor, and we will get you some scores here as soon as possible. But hats off to all these ladies here today, Gretchen.
Yeah, really very impressive across the board. It's amazing.
And you can see Kristen Holta taking first in test number 5, and she is extended her lead on Melina Rodriguez by 2 more points. So she has a 3-point lead going into the final test. Any surprises here, Gretchen?
You know, not really. I mean, the interesting part is there's only 1 point between third and fourth. So that looks like a really close battle there between Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Emma Lawson for that last podium spot on the final test.
As you say that, we get our 6th test put in there, and Jacqueline Dahlstrom takes second in that final test to get 2 Norwegian ladies on top of the podium, and your champion is Kristen Holta. Second place, Melina Rodriguez, as she did in the Americas region, and 1 point behind her, Jacqueline Dahlstrom from Norway. And we were talking about before, Gretchen, Michaela Norman, she swung for the fence on that final test, and she actually got, was it only 5 points off of the podium, but a great finish by Michaela, finishing strong. Thoughts overall, anyone that you're surprised with or kind of disappointed with and maybe expecting more out of here?
You know, I mean, I think all of these ladies did great. It's incredibly impressive performances. We expected sort of our Nordic women to do really well, right? Our Norwegian athletes, Kristen and Jacqueline and Michaela as well. I'm happy to see Melina do well after such a good performance in the final or in the preliminaries, but just that really one bad test kind of in test 1. So I'm happy to see her sort of have more consistent performance across the board and be able to come in second overall.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Jarvis. I'm in Canada, and this is Gretchen Kittelberger, your iF3 president. Thank you for joining us here today. We want to congratulate your iF3 Women's Continental Cup champion, Kristen Holta. Stick around. The teams are on deck next. Happy holidays to everyone around the world. Oh, I thought I had 5 more seconds. All right. Well, thanks, Gretchen. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Well, hopefully next year it's live events.
I hope so. I mean, they sounded very positive.